want to talk about how I discovered marketing. So, and actually my third ever deal. Now, my first deal was a railroad, believe me, trying to get my first deal done, knocking on pre-foreclosure doors. But I didn't tell you about my second deal. So my first deal, if you're on Instagram, go check out Instagram. I did an Instagram live on my very first deal, and explaining that, how I got it and how I went through it. It's actually pretty good. So check out Instagram live. But after my second deal, I completed my second deal. I started working on I actually completed my first deal. I started working on my second deal. And my second deal came in from a seller that lived in Tucson at the time. And this house was maybe about 600 square feet. So second deal's house is 600 square feet. Now remember, I didn't know a lot about real estate at all. I wasn't a contractor, wasn't a real estate guru, didn't know a lot about it. All I knew was that I flipped my first deal. Made $11,008. I was super excited. And so I thought I was invincible at that time. I thought I had no problems. Now, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have any courses. I didn't have, YouTube lives. I didn't have, Facebook lives, Instagram lives, YouTube deals. I didn't have any of that type of stuff. I just had to kind of figure it out on my own. Didn't have really anybody to ask. So what happened was, at this particular time, I got this lead for this house from this guy in Tucson who had this property, and I did most of the negotiation over the phone. So I went and looked at the property. I made him an offer. It was rough. I think it was like in the $18,000 to $20,000 for this property that I made the offer on. And interestingly, what happened is he started the negotiation process. Now, yesterday on Instagram, I was in Instagram Live, we talked about the bogey, right? Understanding the bogey, and usually a lot of sellers will create the bogey. And the bogey is basically, I have another offer at a higher price. So he came back, and I think I offered like 18 grand. He came back and said, I have an offer at another price. And I got completely sucked into the bidding game with this seller, right? So I think I came up to from 18 to like, close to $30,000 for this deal, which was stupid, right? It was dumb. This house was 600 square feet. The neighborhood sucked. The house was gutted down to sticks. It was literally sticks. Everything in this house needed to be handled. Everything. It needed new flooring. It needed new roof. It needed new, literally new everything in this property. So, but I didn't know that because I wasn't a contractor, and I just wanted to get it under contract. And so what he did was he negotiated me on price, and he basically created this bogey of, I have a higher offer. If you want to get the contract, you have to come up to X. Which at the time I went from $18,000 upwards to $30,000 to get the check. To get the contract. So went up to that number. And then what happened was he started negotiating other terms in the contract. So he said, okay, I need $1,000 earnest money. So I was like, okay, $1,000 earnest money. And I pretty much gave him everything he wanted. I gave him $1,000 earnest money. Then he went through the contract, and he said, we need to wipe out your inspection period, right? So he wanted to wipe out, he goes, you've already looked at the property. Obviously you're an investor. You know what you're looking for. We need to wipe out the inspection period. So what happened is I wiped out the inspection period on that contract. Now, I did everything wrong on this deal, everything wrong. Well, first off, you never wipe your inspection period. Unless it's such a smoking deal, absolutely, what's up from Texas? Unless it's an absolutely ridiculous smoking deal that you're willing to take it down and you're willing to buy the property, if it's that good of a deal. So what happened, I waived, and I was wholesaling at the time, so so there is no reason I should have waived my inspection period. So I waived the inspection period, and I waived all my out clauses on this particular deal. So now I'm in contract. I went from $18,000 to $30,000 to get this contract because I believed the bogey, right? He said he had a higher offer, and I jumped all over. I tried to beat out the other offer, which you don't want to do. If your numbers don't work, don't make them work. Otherwise, you get yourself in a tough situation. So then what happened was I gave him the, I went to his house to sign the contract. Well, I went to his, it's actually his mother's house. He lived in Tucson. So his mother lived in Phoenix. So I met him over at his mother's house, met him at his mother's house to go over the contract. And when I did, he said, bring the earnest money check. Now, I didn't know at the time. I brought the earnest money check and I made the earnest money check out to him. So I did that. So I made the earnest money check out to the guy, and he had me X out in the contract any inspection period, and he had me X out the contract, which was subject to my financials partner's approval, right? So anytime you have a subject to in the contract, subject to partner's approval, subject to inspection periods, subject to financing, subject to. Anytime you do a subject to, that's essentially an out clause. So he had me wipe out all the out clauses on the contract. He had me put down $1,000 earnest money, and here's a huge mistake that I made. I gave him the earnest money check, and the earnest money check was made out to him. That is a big no-no. Never, ever do that. So guys, if you could hit the like button and let me know you guys are there liking it, and then if you could share this, I greatly appreciate it. So anyway, what happened was this guy got me to give him the earnest money. Bad mistake. He got me to exclude out of the contract any out clauses in the contract, and had me exclude that. Big mistake. So now I'm in the contract. I'm not getting out. Now, if I don't sell this property, I'm gonna have to buy it. This is my second deal I've ever done. So if I don't get this deal done, I'm in a lawsuit. My second deal, I could be in a lawsuit because I did everything wrong. I gave him the $1,000 earnest money. Big mistake, because now you don't have a third party holding it. If I defaulted on the contract, he keeps it no matter what. I got rid of all my out clauses. Huge mistake. And now I'm stuck in this contract, and either A, I perform, or B, I get sued. Now, this guy would have totally sued me. He was one of those dudes that if I didn't perform, he would have had his attorney all up and down. He would have made me buy that house, no matter what. So second deal I ever did, everything wrong. Why? Because I got cocky. I did my first deal. Hey man, I made $11,000. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I can close it. 18 to 30, no problem. I'll do it. What a moron I was, right? So I went out. I gave the guy earnest money. I signed a contract with no out clauses on it, and I was stuck. So I only had one buyer. His name was Chad. Chad bought my first deal, and I made $11,008. So I brought Chad over to the property, and he's like, dude, this thing for $30,000? This thing needs so much stinker. It's gutted. It's down to sticks. I said, there is no way I'm going to touch this property for $30,000. That's what he said. So now I'm going, oh crap, what am I going to do now? How the heck am I going to get out of that deal? So I said, Chad, listen, dude, you got to help me, man. This is my second deal I've ever done. I was like, who do you know that can help me out with this property? Do you think that will buy it? And always ask that. So remember, if you are in with a seller, and you're going in negotiating, you can't get the contract because they want too high a price and not willing to budge, you always got to ask, who do you know, right? So, I appreciate that, but who do you know? Is there anybody else looking to sell their property that you want to sell without a realtor, that wants to sell quickly, that wants a cash offer? Who do you know that I could talk to? I do that with buyers. If a buyer says no on a property, who do you know? Who do you know that would want to buy this property and could do it? So I asked Chad, right? Was my only buyer on my entire database was Chad. And I said, Chad, he said, heck no, I'm not buying this property for I'm not buying this property for, for $30,000. Heck no. So what happened was I said, who do you know? And Chad goes, hey, I know this guy. It's a father and son team. They buy properties and they do all the work themselves and they fix it and sell it. Maybe he's interested. It's a pretty cheap price. So I called this guy up. Him and his dad came over and looked at the property. They walked through everything. And basically made an offer for $2,000 more. So $32,000 was his offer price. $2,000 more. Now, I remember I was sitting in this house. I didn't know how much of a situation I would have been in if this guy didn't sign the contract and close. I would have been screwed because I didn't have anybody else to do this particular deal. So what happened was I'm sitting there and negotiating. So I take his $32,000 and we did an assignment on the deal, and I assigned my contract for my $30,000 contract for them for $2,000 and I got my earnest money back, my $1,000 earnest money back. So I got my $1,000 back, and I turned around and I assigned that deal for $2,000. Now that was my second deal. I did everything wrong. I gave the seller $1,000 earnest money, and I removed all my out clauses from the contract. That is such a massive mistake. And I believed the bogey, right? He said he had a higher offer for a higher price, and I jumped and tried to match the offer. That's called the bogey. Don't ever do that because and don't go above a number that you know you can't get it done. So I'm sitting there, and for whatever reason, I'm sitting there, and by the grace of God, I can tell you that right now, I got out of that deal. So now what happens, I'm in my second deal, and it's about 3 weeks after my first deal. So my first deal, I made $11,008. My second deal that I ever did, I made $2,000, right? $2,000, and I got my $1,000 earnest money back. So I am, I'm excited. I got 2 deals under my belt. I'm feeling pretty good, even though it wasn't a lot of money. But I'm glad, by the grace of God, that I got out of that particular deal with no harm, no foul, no lawsuits, no nothing, right? Because I did everything wrong. Never, ever, ever release your out clause, your inspection period, unless the deal is so good and you are prepared to actually take down the deal and actually buy the deal, okay? Never, ever remove your out clause. So that being said, now, right? Now, about 2.5 months pass. And I quit my job. After my first deal. I quit my job. I don't suggest that. I always suggest people get 1 year's worth of income in the bank. If you make $50,000 a year, get $50,000 a year in the bank, and now you have the option to quit your job if you so choose. So in my particular case, I didn't do that. I got my first $11,000 check, and I quit my job and I went full time. And about 3 weeks later, I got my second deal. We just talked about $2,000. Now 2.5 months have passed. I'm knocking on pre-foreclosure doors. That's what I was taught. That's what I learned. Knocking on pre-foreclosure doors every single day. I'm knocking on 15 to 20 houses a day for 2.5 months. And I cannot get one person to set an appointment with me, to let me in their house, to potentially get a contract on the house for 2.5 months, right? No contract. And my wife's going, hey, when do we got money coming in? Hey, when's money coming in? I got bills starting to pile up. I got mortgage payments that need to be paid at my house. I've got, kids that need, formula, because I had a little baby at the time, at 33, when I was 33 years old. So I'm sitting there essentially freaking out, right? I can't get a deal. 2.5 months after my first deal, I cannot. I'm knocking on doors. I'm putting forth the energy. I'm going out to houses. I'm talking to sellers, and I starting to freak out. man, am I ever going to get another deal? That question goes in your head, right? It crosses, am I ever going to get another deal? Is there ever going to get another contract? Am I ever going to find another motivated seller? Am I ever going to make it happen again? And I started freaking out, and I started doubting myself, doubting if it's ever going to happen, doubting if it's going to work. I almost, during that time frame, I started thinking about maybe I should get a job. Maybe I should, just have a job on the side, and I can kind of do this around the job. So I remember I was praying to God. I was like, God, you gotta have a breakthrough, because something's gonna happen here. I gotta figure this out. Can you help me here? And amazing, God doesn't just come down and rain money upon you, right? That's not what happens. You don't go, God, I need to pay bills, and then all of a sudden he pours. Next thing you know, you walk outside and you find a briefcase full of money, and next thing you know, all your problems are solved, right? What God does is God gives you an idea. And it's more like a gut, it's more like a wow, like a intuition, gut, bam, an idea. And so that happened to me. So I'm asking God and I'm praying, I'm saying, hey, help me out here in the situation. Bam, I got this idea. I said, I thought, where would sellers be? Where would they hang out? Now, this is before, now remember, this is 2003. So this is before really cell phones. I mean, they have flip phones, but they're super expensive. Before the internet, before there was like any massive internet presence. I know they had Yahoo and AOL. This was before Facebook, before Zillow, before Redfin, before you can pull comps. This is a lot of before, a lot of this. Now that the tools we have is so easy, it's not even funny. Anyway, so I had this idea, and I'm thinking, where would sellers be hanging out, right? Where would they look? Where would they be? That was the question, right? And so I thought to myself, well, they're going to be out of a job. I'm sitting there looking right now, and I'm struggling on bills, and I got mortgage payments to pay. So I said, if I'm struggling, and imagine I'm out of a job, but I'm actually flipping houses trying to make it work, maybe other people are having the same issue. So what I did was, at the time, I said, hey, I'm going to place an ad, and I'm going to place it in the Job Examiner, right? So the Job Examiner is it's a little like a job magazine, right? It's a job. So you find them in the grocery stores or in the little newsstands. And what it is they have basically they have jobs in there that are posted. So I made friends with the advertising rep. Her name was Kelly. And I called Kelly up, I called up and talked to advertising and talked to her about the situation. And I got her, now she was not supposed to be able to put other advertisement other than job postings, right, for jobs, right? So I am going to her and I said, hey, listen, I buy houses. You can buy them cash. I can solve a lot of these guys' problems. Can I put the advertising? So she got it approved. She understood what I was doing. And I put the ad in the job paper, right? And this is the first time I really understood marketing, right? So before that, remember, I was getting a list of pre-foreclosures. I was mapping them out in Yahoo Maps, and I was driving around town knocking on pre-foreclosure doors. So I was going to a seller. It was literally disruptive marketing. I was knocking on their door saying, hey, do you want to sell? And either they, yelled at me, told me I was an idiot, said they pulled a gun on me, said they were going to stick the dog on me, said get out of here, and some said, I need help, right? Few and far between. So what happened at this particular time, I was taught to go out and go knock on doors and stuff like that. Now this was the first time it shifted from marketing. What's up? So shifted from marketing. What's up, Mark? Shifted from marketing shifted from actually going out and chasing sellers to actually having sellers call me, right? First time ever. This was the first time ever I really basically discovered marketing. So I make this ad, and I put this ad in the Job Examiner, because I'm figuring, hey, if people are out of a job, they've got to be, probably want to sell houses. So what happened was I put it out there. I got a couple calls coming in. Finally, I got a call from this guy that said, quote, hey, I inherited this property many years ago. The place is in terrible condition. It's all boarded up, and I just want to get rid of it. What can you do? Now, if you get a call like that, literally hair will stand on the back of your neck. When you get a seller that says, I want to get rid of the house, I just want to get rid of it, your hair will stand up on the back of your neck, trust me. Because it's about 1 in 25, 1 in 50 where they actually say that. So, interestingly enough, I literally, and when you do that, you need to run to their house. You need to get in the car and say, listen, I'll be there in 10 minutes. You get in the car and you get there as soon as humanly possible. So I went, I booked the appointment, I went over there as soon as I can. I went over to his house, and I remember I sat down, I talked to him, he told me the whole story of how he inherited the property from his father. He was going to try to fix it up, try to keep it in the family, try to deal. He had a lien on the property he needed to take care of. And what happened was then I said, well, let's go look at the house. Let me go check it out and go see it at least. So we drove over. I followed him over there, and we drove over to the house. Now, this thing was a single story, probably 1,100, 1,200 square feet house. I remember it had spray paint, graffiti all over the house. There were, all the windows were boarded up. And there were people breaking into the house, inside the house, and they were shooting up crack cocaine, heroin, in the house. They're in the house. So I saw these needles on the floor. There was, place was trashed. Burger King, McDonald's, bags and boxes all over the place. So pretty nasty house. Now the thing was worth probably about $120,000, $130,000. And what I did was I offered $36,000. $36,000. That's what I offered for the property. And he said, fine, done. I just want to get rid of it. Fine, I'll cover this lien I have on the property. Give me some extra cash, done. So I write it up for $36,000. Now, I know it's got to be a deal, right? I'm saying it's worth $120,000, $130,000 in the area. I know it's pretty trashed, but it's got to be a deal, right? It's got to be a deal at, $36,000. But the issue is, I had two buyers in my database. I had the first buyer, Chad, who bought my first deal. I made $11,008. I had my second buyer, who was the guy who bought the nasty house we just talked about, for $30,000. And now I had this house, right? 2.5 months after my second deal, I had to do it. So I'm pumped. I'm excited. I know I got a deal on this thing. So I figured with the comparable sales, I could sell it around $79,000 was my number. Now listen to this. Here's an interesting thing. So I talked to the two buyers and they passed. They didn't want to do anything. So I went to the Real Estate Investment Club. This was before meetups. There was no meetups at the time. I went to the Real Estate Investment Club and I went there and I started networking. And I started asking around, hey, is anybody, any cash buyers around looking for properties? Any fix and flip guys? Anybody looking for deals? I'm at the Real Estate Investment Club. There's about 1,000 people in this meeting for the Real Estate Investment Club. I remember I walked in the back and I thought to myself, it's like, what makes me think that I can do and get any deals in real estate? There's 1,000 people in this room that I've got to compete against. What makes me think that I am ever going to get a real estate deal? Unbeknownst to me, 99% of these people were wannabes. 99% of the people never took action. 99% of these people didn't do anything, right? So unbeknownst to me, I'm sitting there beating myself up thinking I have to compete with all these guys. You know what? 99% don't do anything. So I'm walking around, I'm talking to some people in there, and this guy referred me, said, hey, go talk to this dude over there. So I talked to him, I said, hey, I got this house, I want to sell, I'm looking for a cash buyer, looking for someone that can buy it. He goes, yeah, I buy properties, I usually buy 1 or 2 a month, I fix them up and sell them, I'd love to look at it. What's the address? And what's your price? I said, I'm asking $79, let's go over and look at it. So here's the interesting thing, which I want you to take away, something to take away from it. It's not only that marketing works, that you can get leads coming in and leads will call you, number 2, but is that what to do when a buyer does this, what I'm about to tell you. So we go over the property. He looks at the property. He spends a good probably 25, 30 minutes at the property. I mean, he's looking at the foundation. He's looking through the property. He's going up in the eaves. He's looking at the roof. He's looking at the whole thing. I mean, he's checking everything out on this property, right? And I'm like, what are you looking at, dude? Right? You know, I'm sitting there. I don't know what to look at. And I go, yeah, 179, right? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to have to pass. I was like, dude, we've been here for a half hour and you got to pass? What are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to have to pass. And here's what I did. And I don't know where it came from. Again, it's got to be God's intervention. But I go, well, where do you need to be to get the deal done today? Now, always ask that question. You want to ask it to buyers. You want to ask it to sellers. You want to ask it to everybody, right? You go into a seller's house and you offer 90 grand. And they go, nah, you know, I just can't take it. So where do you need to be to get the deal done today? You know what? More times than not, they're going to say what this guy said, right? So I said, I'm at $79,000, and he goes, no, I'm going to have to pass. I said, where do you need to be? And he started getting to his car, and I said, where do you need to be? And he goes, well, if I can do 76, I think I can make it.